Hi, all, and welcome to a world of bookish adventures. My name is Shannon.
And I'm Amanda, and we are excited to share with you today's podcast. Today, Shannon will be sharing her part 2 of her trip to Switzerland. So if you joined us for part 1, you know just how incredible this trip was, so I'm really excited to hear more.
Today, we are going to catch a train and we're leaving the beautiful village of St. Gallen and we are heading over to Brig, Switzerland. I stayed in Brig as kind of my home base as it was close to a few things that I wanted to do. It was close to Italy and I spent a day in Italy as well as some other places I wanted to see. So it was the perfect middle spot. Brig is an alpine town that is in southern Switzerland. It borders Italy, as I shared, and is a popular stop on the Glacier Express Railway, which, side note, is definitely on my bucket list to do one of the next times I go over there. Brig has castles and old churches from the 17th century, as well as amazing cafes, stores, and incredible views of the Alps. I stayed at the Hotel Victoria, which was directly across from the train station, which was absolutely convenient. It looked like an old castle. And if you stay there, you have to request one of the balcony rooms. First of all, the hotel has no air conditioning. And if you go there during the summer or if it's a warm day, they do provide you with some small fans, but no air conditioning. You definitely are going to want the balconies because they have two large doors that open up and then you can go onto the balcony and it lets airflow in. And the views were just incredible. For those of you that are joining us on YouTube, you get to see the amazing views of the Swiss Alps that I saw from our balcony, which was great. So the first evening that I got there, walked to the city center, explored, had dinner, and there was even a local performer that came and did a show for us.
Ooh, what kind of show did you get to see?
So it was interesting, and I'll share some pictures again on YouTube, but it was a fire dancer. She walked around and she had these like batons and she danced and had the fire going. And it was just this perfect moment. You're in this cafe in this old town surrounded by the Swiss Alps, eating fajitas, by the way. That's what I chose for dinner that night, but eating fajitas while she's dancing. And it was a nice, cool night. It was perfect. The perfect way to start this part of my journey.
That sounds like a brave person, but I'm sure the show was amazing to watch.
It was. So the next day set off for the real reason that I was here was to go spend time in Zermatt. And I have to add, before I get too far in my story, that I specifically added Zermatt to my travel list because of the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. This was my birthday week, and I could not think of a better way to spend my birthday week in Zermatt, where my town of Velaris was, because bookish adventures are a real thing. It is my personal and non-supported belief that Sarah J. Maas got her inspiration for Velaris from Zermatt and from seeing conversation on TikTok, as well as some of the Sarah J. Maas Facebook groups. I don't think I'm the only one who thinks this. Because not only is an amazing small village in the middle of the mountains, it has water running through it, it has artists, local merchants, and the night views of your bookish dreams. But all of that combined, my biggest reason for thinking that this was an inspiration for Velaris is the name of the local district that Zermatt lies in. Zermatt is in the Valais canton. Now it's spelled Valais is how they spell it. The Valais canton. And cantons in Switzerland are districts or sections of the country. In Switzerland, there are 26 cantons. And the one that reminds me the most of Velaris is Valais. And that's where Zermatt is. So I don't know. I feel like there's some connection there. And right. So need I say more? That's what I think so. So, going into the books, Velaris is described as being surrounded by snowy peaks. Houses are built on steep rolling hills. It is flanked by the river known as the Sidra. It has shops, cafes, artist areas. And as you see, as we go through today's podcast, this all fits Zermatt perfectly.
I wasn't even there, but that sounds just so gorgeous. And I can see why Sarah J. Maas or any author really would want to set a story there. And if you are on YouTube and you're able to see Shannon's pictures, they're just mind blowing. They don't even look real, some of them. So it really is an incredible setting for a story like that.
It really is. ACOTAR aside, just like you said, the amazing views could be an inspiration for any creative person. So I absolutely agree. And as I shared, just like Brig, Zermatt is in the southern part of Switzerland, and it's a mountain village that's known for skiing and climbing and hiking, and also for our ACOTAR lovers, it's the home of the High Lord and Lady of the Court of Dreams. And I'm going to say it one more time. If you're listening to us on Spotify, we appreciate you and we appreciate your support. But for this podcast, I definitely recommend you checking out our YouTube channel as well, because I took a lot of pictures and a lot of video. And I especially, especially for my ACOTAR lovers, you're going to want to see that. So hop on over when you get a chance. So Zermatt lies below the Matterhorn, which is the iconic pyramid-shaped mountain that is so often seen in pictures and items of what Velaris looks like. And everybody knows, the iconic pictures of the Matterhorn mountains, the two mountains on the side with the Matterhorn in the middle, and in the bottom of the mountain is the village at night with all the lights. And we're all really familiar with this iconic scene. And this is exactly where Zermatt looks like.
Iconic is a good word for it. Like, it's such a major landmark and appears in so many other books and movies. And I think even Disneyland has a ride based on it. So yeah, I think we can all kind of visualize what that looks like.
It is. It's amazing. So the train ride from Brig to Zermatt was maybe a little bit over an hour, but the views on the way were just incredible as we were going more into the Alps. And once I got to Zermatt, I took some time to walk around to go look at some of the local artists and the merchants. Zermatt is a carless village. Only electric cars and buses are permitted, and you're not going to see really many of those. Mostly the ones that you see are either ones for the local hotels or local taxis. There is one bus that will bring you there along with the electric train, but if you choose to drive there, you're going to have to stop at one of the outlying villages and leave your car and take the train or the bus in. Zermatt has over 50 lakes and almost 100 springs, and it has a river that runs through the town. And while maybe it's not the Sidra River, as you walk beside it and you see the mountains and you feel the crisp air, one can almost put themselves there. Well, at least I did. One of the biggest experiences I had was taking the cogwheel railway known as the Gorgemont up to 3,000, almost 3,100 meters above sea level to see the panoramic views, the amazing, glorious views of the Matterhorn, as well as the other Swiss Alps.
And those of you who are following along with the pictures and video, you can see the views really are just glorious. So while Shannon was traveling, I would check her Facebook every day just to see what she was posting that day. Some of her pictures just look like paintings. I mean, they're incredible. It just really feels like you're just looking at a piece of art. So it's really surreal for those of us who have never lived in some place like that, just to see that come to life and to see her face like plugged right in there, like she belongs there.
Oh, I definitely feel like I belong there. Oh, I could move there tomorrow. If only we had the money, we could do that. It takes about 30 minutes to go from Zermatt up to the top. You're going over bridges, through tunnels, across forests, past rocky ravines and mountain lakes. And if you decide to go up, make sure that you are sitting on the right side of the cogwheel because that's where you're going to get the best pictures, especially of the Matterhorn and the town underneath the Matterhorn. So make sure you're on the right side of the cogwheel. At the summit, you'll find Europe's highest altitude hotel, the 3100 Hume Hotel Gorgemont. It includes a restaurant, an observatory, shopping, as well as its incredible views. Once you're up there, you're also going to see the second largest glacier in the Alps, the Corner Glacier, as well as a total of 29 mountains, including our famous Matterhorn. There is no words that can describe how majestic it was at the top. And once you get there, it's a short little moderately steep hike up to kind of a viewing platform. And it's just surreal. My friend and I who were there, we packed some little goodies in our bag from our breakfast. We got some Nutella and some croissants and a little bit of fruit. And once we got up there, we sort of had a picnic lunch surrounded by the Alps. While we were at the top, there was a gentleman who climbed up one of the smaller mountains and started to yodel. And we all stopped. Everybody that was up there stopped and watched him as he was just living his best life. I have the video. I'll put the video up on YouTube. Living his best life yodeling. And when he was done, everybody applauded and cheered for him. And he said that was a dream come true. He always wanted to go to the Swiss Alps and yodel. And that's what he did.
That's amazing. Okay, so obviously this is going to have to go on my bucket list because I love hiking about as much as I love reading. And so far, my favorite place I've hiked has been the Grand Canyon. But this sounds like some serious competition, especially if I might cross paths with a yodeler. Like, how does that happen in real life? Come on.
Right, exactly. When are you going to be able to say, oh, yes, I was in the Swiss Alps and I had a yodeler with me? Absolutely. And I tell you, man, and this is what I told you at our introduction podcast, so many podcasts ago, we will go because this time, because I had a very limited time there, I only had a day. I didn't really get to do any hiking, but my goal is I want to go back and I want to hike down the 3,100 meters. I want to hike from the top back down to Zermatt. It takes a couple hours, but it's a nice hike. It's not too strenuous, and there's lots of places that you can stop and see lakes and put your feet in the lakes, and it's just an amazing experience. And then if you get tired, kind of like at benchmarks all the way down, they have the train, they have a sky lift, they have all sorts of different modes of transportation. So if some point you're like, no, I don't want to hike anymore, then you just hop one of the means to get you back down to the bottom.
Oh, well, that's comforting. That's comforting. I can think I can make that risk, right?
So I ended up taking the cable car. I took a different way back down to Zermatt, which brought even more amazing views. They have smaller hostels that are kind of all placed all throughout the mountains that you can stay in. They had different towns as well as hiking trails, and I got to see they have a hiking trail that's called the 5 Lakes, and the hiking trail goes through 5 different lakes. So I got to see some of the lakes. So it was an amazing experience all around. So once I got down, I needed to go have some dinner, and because I was in Switzerland and the night before I had fajitas, I was like, I need to find something local. So we found this local fondue restaurant because, well, again, Switzerland, you must do fondue. And the dinner was so amazing, but so different from what we experience in the States. If you think about going maybe to the Melting Pot or some other fondue restaurant and kind of think of how the spread is. In Switzerland, it's completely different. The dinner was amazing, but like our cheese course was just the bread. It didn't have vegetables. It didn't have any apples or fruit. It was just the bread, which was fine by me. I love my carbs, and cheese with carbs is the best. The main course had meat with the dipping sauces, and you had, I think we chose one that had 3 or 4 different types of meat, and it had the dipping sauces to go with it, but it didn't have anything else. Like it didn't have any like vegetables with it or anything like that. It was very kind of pure and clean, but it was so good. And then for the dessert, for the chocolate, it included fruit and a couple little marshmallows on top. So definitely a different experience than maybe we would have in the States, but it was amazing. It was filling. It is definitely something to experience.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Now I want fondue. Thanks.
Okay, so Switzerland, hiking, Velaris, fondue. So I think we got our check boxes.
Definitely.
After dinner, I made my way towards the overlook for my perfect Velaris photo. And the walk from the downtown, where like the train station is, that kind of area of the downtown, to the Murin Hill, which is where the viewpoint is, was probably about a 20-minute walk. So it wasn't too bad, but it was fairly steep. While there's not as many steps as the House of Wind, there are, as you can see, quite a few steps to get to the top. If the steep walk up to the top is a little too much, you can take an electric taxi, and it will cost you about 20 francs for them to bring you to the top. I headed there about an hour and a half before sunset. One, because I wanted to take daytime pictures, but also everything that I read online was that it gets busy. And I wanted to make sure I got the perfect picture spot. And sure enough, after about 30 minutes of being there, other people started to show up. And when it got really close to sunset, there were a lot of people there. So I'm glad I went early. For those that maybe would want to go or will go, I'll post the exact directions on our YouTube channel, as well as our other social media platforms for people who are wanting to find the picture spot. So from this viewpoint, you see the Matterhorn towering over the gingerbread houses below. It is exactly what I imagined the books would be, like living the book, living that amazing scene of Velaris and the book, looking over, I could see it all.
That had to be so amazing and so exciting to see something you've imagined in your mind for so long come to life. I mean, my dream is to see Narnia. That probably won't happen. So I guess I'm going to have to read the, Court of Thorns and Roses and go to Switzerland. But that had to be like really awesome.
It was, because so often when we see videos on our social media, or we have our crafters who make their shirts and other items, they use these iconic photos. You are used to seeing the mountains with the villages and the lights and such like that. But to be there and to see it in person was everything I had hoped it could be.
I'm sure. I'm jealous. Sorry, continue.
So while I was waiting for sunset to get that iconic picture, I looked to my right, and high above us, tucked in the side of the mountain, I swear, listeners, I swear I found the House of Wind. It was a cute house perched high up on a mountain hill. And again, for those of you, I'll share this picture on our other social media sites as well. But for those of you that are on YouTube right now that are seeing this picture, I would love to know your thoughts, because when I looked over and I saw that house, that was the first thing that came to my mind was, oh, there's the House of Wind. Is Cassian in there right now? That's what I really want to know. But finally, the sun had started to set, and all of the tiny homes started lighting up, and the lights started flickering, and street lights came on, and there it was, my Velaris in all her glory. It was so magical, and I could have stayed there all night just watching the town light up with the towering mountains behind her. I am so proud of this picture, because I waited over 2 hours for this picture, and Zermatt did not disappoint.
That is so wild. Like, that is some serious commitment to stay for 2 hours to get your dream picture. But to be fair, it is a really beautiful picture. So, and your whole experience really just sounds nothing short of magical.
It definitely was. And overall, my trip to Zermatt did not disappoint. As we've talked about, I'm already wanting to plan a trip back. If you're a nature lover, you're going to find so much to do there. If you're an ACOTAR lover, nothing beats the feeling of stepping right into the city of starlight and the court of dreams.
I can't imagine. That sounds amazing. So those of you who are listening, you're going to have to tell us if you start planning a trip to Switzerland, because we're going to have to go with you.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. Can you imagine, like, group trip to Switzerland? We'll hike, we'll eat fondue, we'll look for the high court, and we'll buy lots of stuff. I think it all sounds perfect.
Yes.
So that is my journey to Velaris. Thank you guys. I have been so excited to share this journey and share my pictures with you. And I appreciate everybody here because you guys get it. You guys get planning a trip for a specific moment or to live out a part of a book that just hit you and touched you in so many ways. And the ACOTAR series for me really got me back into reading. I have always loved reading, as I shared, but life happens and I got out of the habit and I got into a slump. And when I discovered these books, it rekindled my love and my passion for reading and has led me to be doing the ARC reads that I do now and this podcast and these traveling adventures. And so I really credit Sarah J. Maas and the world that she created and her magic systems that she created for rekindling my love. And this experience to have for my birthday was just the perfect way to start this new journey and chapter of my life.
What an amazing compliment for Sarah J. Maas. My goodness. I hope she hears that.
Thank you all for being on my journey to Velaris. But next week, it's Amanda is up. And Amanda, what is your bookish adventure you're going to be sharing?
We are going to talk about The Last Bookstore, which is in Los Angeles, California, and you are not going to want to miss it because it is way more than just a bookstore.
When I hear the name Last Bookstore, all these like images come to my mind, so I cannot wait to hear your adventures.
It's super cool. So hope you tune in. And thank you to everyone for being part of our podcast. So we look forward to connecting with you each week. And as always, we invite you to join us on our social media pages, as well as to like and subscribe to us on YouTube, as well as your favorite podcast platforms. And you can find all of our information on our link tree.
And don't forget, we want to hear your bookish adventures and stories. Please either fill out the form in our link tree or email us your adventures at awobapodcast@gmail.com for a chance to have Amanda and I share them on our podcast platform.
Until next time, read more books.
And then go explore.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.